intended for mature audiences. The views and opinions expressed are those of the panelists and do not reflect in any way those of the podcast partners, sponsors, or affiliates. Enjoy.
BoxingVoice.com.
What broke him down? Was it just the
body punching? When I was hitting him with body punching, I heard him actually he was crying in there.
You were saying that Biggs was crying when you hit him?
Yes.
When did that happen?
And perhaps the fourth round on.
BoxingVoice.com.
So that you knew you had him by that
Absolutely,
time.
but I knew he was toughing and taking those punches.
p-ssy production.
Making women gestures like,
Let's go, champ.
Good morning, TBV, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another jam-packed edition of the Boxing Voice. Even though it's a morning show, we've really stacked this one up. Now, one or two of these interviews might not even happen, but we got scheduled the young Chris Colbert. We got scheduled top 5 heavyweight Adam Kownacki, and we have scheduled the president of the IBO. So let's see, man, if we don't have a little bit of congestion with all the interviews and one running over another. But remember, that's 3 interviews on this particular show with leading boxing insiders, top 5 fighters. So don't forget to hit that thumbs up button if you're just joining the live stream, as it helps us to continue to get these types of interviews so that you can enjoy your day with some boxing talk. So we'll be talking this morning, Anthony Joshua, and I quote, "I have one loss. I won't become a pussy overnight." I mean, look, I wasn't going to do a Joshua topic, not today or the first show, but I mean, I'm loving this new AJ talking street. Like, I mean, he's talking about being a killer. He's saying he not no pussy. I mean, I'm really liking this. Now, obviously, this is everything that you want to hear from your favorite fighter. The only problem is it gonna translate to him actually fighting like that? And I guess having that same energy in the ring.
I smell pussy.
Yeah, I mean, but he's saying he ain't one. So interesting, man. Then you got Andy Ruiz saying that AJ hit him with a lucky punch and that he was being lazy. So I don't know. This fight is definitely heating up more and more. I've seen a lot of jealousy in the comments. People like, oh, it's Wilder's fight week. Why are we talking AJ? Because we're a boxing podcast and we talk every topic. We spoke the lightweight division yesterday. We had Bob on. We had Bill Haney. We talked heavyweight. We discuss multiple topics. Today is Thursday, flagship Thursday at 7 p.m. And we will preview and predict this weekend's fights. Not just Deontay Wilder's, all this weekend's fights. So any new listeners, man, really just join the chat, sit back, relax, and try to, I guess, get a whiff of what it is that we're doing over here before just talking caca. So let me hit up Chris Colbert and see what's up. Just hit him up, see if he's ready to come on now, and we get this thing going. In the meantime, let me read you this quote. If Andy Ruiz Jr. hoped Anthony Joshua might be a broken man after he relieved him of his collection of world heavyweight titles in June, he's got another thing coming. And I quote, "We haven't done anything differently. Mentally, I am a champion. I walked into the gym and 3 years later, I was an Olympic champion. I've had one loss, but I'm not about to become a pussy overnight and not be able to fight." I think Joshua's listening to a lot of American radio. What do you think? I think he's definitely listening to a lot of American radio and learning the right things to say. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button, but focus your attention on the Anthony Joshua video on the thumbnail. And this is his most recent interview here, where he has some interesting things to say. So he doesn't necessarily speak of the quote in the title, which was a Sky Sports interview, but he says some other interesting things that I wouldn't mind you guys listening to. So if you could just give me a moment to toss that into our soundboard and level out the audio. Start around 65. Ready?
I'm going to whip him. Show him how great I am. Because they think he's that great. So when I beat him, I want everyone to bow to my feet. Tell me how great I am. Because as you said, I couldn't beat Andy Ruiz before and get the credit I deserve. So what that's why you say you see me in the ring. I didn't have it wasn't like I was ready to. I wasn't fighting King Kong, was I, in the mindset? So now I'm apparently fighting the quickest hands and the best fighter in the division. Once I beat him, I want everyone to bow to me and tell me how great I am then.
I don't know if he's going to get the reaction that he's expecting. Can we bow to him? Can we tell him how great he is? I'm not sure, because we didn't expect a 20-1 underdog to destroy you. So this is only get back season. DAZN is calling it fight season, but for Joshua, it's get back season. Get back to where you were. Get back to your standing. Get back to your ranking. Get back to your champion status. Get back on top. It's really get back season. I cannot agree with him in saying that anyone is going to bow down to him. Now, if this were Deontay Wilder he was fighting and defeating, yeah, I think people would probably, metaphorically bow down to him, not literally. But look, I like the big words. It's like, big man cash shit. Yo, I'm going to beat him. Bow down to me. I don't mind it. I don't mind it. Look, I think that this could be a little bit of both. This is him psyching himself up while giving the fight world exactly what they want. We need some buildup. We need these quotables to get excited, to, decide whether or not we're going to do fight parties and things like that. So I'm all for it. I am all for it, Hopefully, it's as good as a fight as the first one and truly lives up to the hoopla. I've said it before. I'm more excited for this fight than any others this year, unfortunately. Not really unfortunately. That's a good thing for DAZN, Matchroom Boxing, that fight fans are looking forward to this one. Just want to go back to the quotes for anyone joining the live stream. If you just joined the live stream, hit that thumbs up. I just hit it, made it 52 to 53. Don't forget, you can show the same equal type of love by just hitting the thumbs up button. It helps with the visibility of the show. It puts this show in front of new boxing fans that haven't already found it, giving them that 1-425-569-52 phone number. 5241 phone number, so that they can call in and express their frustrations or celebrate whenever they get their pick right. We're talking Anthony Joshua versus Andy Ruiz Jr. to Saudi Arabia, December 7th. It's going back down. Clash in the dunes, baby. And I'm excited. I'm excited. The first one is epic. We still get comments on our live reaction. It still gets views. Like, it continues to grow. So the excitement in this fight is there because of the intrigue. You just never thought that Ruiz would step up to the plate in that fashion and do what he did the way that he did. So it's the mystery here of the unknown. Can he do it again? Will AJ show it was just a fluke? I watched the Round Table Gloves is Off series with Johnny Nelson and who else he had? He had a bunch of people. Paulie Malignaggi was there. Carl the Cobra Frotch was there. Who else? Fighter was Tony Bellew, a known love. What can I say? A known brother of Anthony Joshua, should I say? Right? He definitely loves him some Anthony Joshua. It was interesting. No one really could come right out and just pick AJ to get the win. Everybody is kind of on pins and needles. We don't know what to expect. We don't know, no one really knows. Was it a fluke? Is it not? Does Ruiz just have his number? I mean, I think that the most honest guy might have been David Haye. I think that David Haye feels like AJ can't pull it off. He also revealed some interesting information. I thought that was a topic for a show. The fact that David Haye is claiming Carlos Takam told him AJ doesn't do real sparring, that he does technical sparring, a.k.a. light sparring. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I've been in gyms where they do controlled sparring to work on things, Maybe they want you to work slipping the jab and countering. So the coach gets two guys in there and he tells one to do one thing and the other to do another thing. And you work on that drill repeatedly. That could be considered controlled sparring. That could be considered light sparring or technical sparring, something that you're working on. When David Haye asked, do they let go? He says Carlos Takam told him no. That when he attempted to let go, they said, hey, mate, we just protecting the champ. I mean, they didn't say those words, but they said, we are just doing technical sparring. So very interesting to see all these sparring partners. Now, look, this is the claim of one former champion, multiple division champion, and the reason I emphasize his accolades is because I know that boxing fans are fickle and you might come out and say, oh, David Haye, he was flopping on the ring with Vladimir Klitschko. And we're fickle, so we forget the accomplishments of David Haye in the cruiserweight division and moving up to the heavyweight division and fighting the bigger man and winning the title when no one thought he would at heavyweight. So I respect his boxing mind, and I'm going to take what he's saying as his truth. Same way Tony Bellew was up there defending AJ at every corner, at every stance he was defending AJ. So I'll take Tony Bellew's word as well, because Tony said something interesting and something that me and Mike had talked about here on the show a lot, mindset and rematches and whether or not he wanted it. Well, Tony kind of put it down in a different way. He said that there's no way he could have not taken this rematch and allowed Al Heyman to have all the belts because Tony Bellew feels that there was no way Al Heyman lets Andy Ruiz fight anyone else. So, meaning, if AJ never took the fight and Ruiz was able to walk away with all the belts, he feels Al Heyman would have put him right up against Deontay Wilder, so that Deontay Wilder, in Tony Bellew's eyes, can beat him without a shadow of a doubt and be one face, one name, one champion. Now, he feels that's the reason that Anthony Joshua had to do this. He says he had no choice. Everybody else around that table kind of wanted Joshua to go in another direction. They wanted him to rebuild. Everything that I've been saying here for years. But the belts have so much value and give you so much power. It's really pole position in boxing that he was not literally forced, but because of the situation and what status he would lose, he's in this situation now where he's in an immediate rematch. Now, they did a phenomenal job on that breakdown, letting you know why Joshua gave up his height, why a fighter, for that instance, would give up their height every now and then. They think that he'll do better because he's had the time to prepare for a shorter man, and they also think that he could have some sort of demons haunting him because every time he threw the jab, Ruiz countered. So, again, very interesting fight. See, we don't believe Ruiz has this type of shot. Ortiz has this type of shot with Deontay Wilder, and that's why the level of interest just isn't there like this one. Now, with the upset win, AJ Ruiz becomes more of a 50-50 fight, and I think that's why AJ feels the way that he feels. He's like, you guys think he's great. Now I can get up for him because you think he's great. So when I beat him, bow down.
I'm going to whip him. Show him how great I am. Because they think he's that great. So when I beat him, I want everyone to bow to my feet. Tell me how great I am. Because as you said, I couldn't beat Andy Ruiz before and get the credit I deserve. So what was... That's why you say you see me in the ring. I had no... It wasn't like I was ready to... I wasn't fighting King Kong, was I? In the mindset. So now I'm apparently fighting the quickest hands and the best fighter in the division. Once I beat him, I want everyone to bow to me and tell me how great I am then.
Funny thing is that he says, apparently now I'm fighting the man with the quicker hands and the best in the division. I don't know who he's talking to. We do this show daily. I don't remember any callers calling in now, calling Andy Ruiz the clear number one in the division. I don't hear anyone labeling him the best now. I do hear the fast hands. I have been seeing a lot of that. All of a sudden, Andy Ruiz has a lot of experience and a lot of fast hands. And, they talk a lot about the amateur background. So I just got word from Adam Karnacki, the heavyweight that was offered the Anthony Joshua fight before Andy Ruiz. And looks like he is ready. So we'll be getting him on as soon as he calls into the studio, and we'll just connect him and go for it. Let me see if I can put together a little post for my Patreons. Maybe you guys can ask a question. I should have thought of that. I'm a little. I told you, man. I need an intern. Is what I need, an intern. But yeah, man. Interesting quotables from my friend Anthony Joshua. Definitely super excited, interested for this fight. But I think that he's going to have that same mental pressure on him simply because Wilder fights first. So it's going to give him the same type of stress that he was going through with Andy Ruiz in the first fight, wanting to outdo Wilder, especially if Wilder puts on a great performance. But without further ado, we have Adam Karnacki, top 5 heavyweight, creeping up on that IBF and WBC ranking for a title shot. Brooklyn, New York. What's going on, Adam? How are you? Good morning. First and foremost, thank you for taking out the time to let the Boxing Voice get this interview. It's fight week for Deontay Wilder, and 2-3 weeks from now, we'll have Anthony Joshua rematching Andy Ruiz Jr. And as a top 10 heavyweight, we definitely wanted to get your takes on both fights and find out what's next for you, since we see Dominic Brazil asking for a shot at the new IBF interim champ. But how are you? Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on. Yeah, I think he's calling everybody out. You gotta respect. Try to win a fight first before you start calling people out after you got knocked out in 30 seconds.
Wow. So no interest for you then.
Right?
So there's no interest for you?
There's always interest, right? I mean, I think he should work his way back up to it. But of course, there's interest. I mean, because I'm probably stay busy fight, and he's definitely probably one of the names that I'm gonna have to look for since we both work with Al. So, we will see in the future.
But you just don't think it's a sexy fight because he's coming off a loss? I mean, I look at it as a developmental fight for you, preparing you for a tall heavyweight, right? And orthodox, which is just like Deontay Wilder. Or do you not look at it like that?
That's definitely one of the ways of looking at it, but also I'm like, if I don't knock him out in similar fashion as Lawler did, what does that leave my stock? I mean, that's another thing. I mean, every fight itself, which I think like a lot of like critics criticize boxers, but when you have that chance to get ready and one fight could change your life and make you, millions of dollars in the next fight, you're sure gonna be extra motivated to win that fight. So that's why I think I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, so every fight is dangerous, Like there's like three main factors which make champions great, like their motivation, discipline, like the X factor, Like I think with my X factors like that, I'm very durable, and then like my motivation is high and my discipline is pretty high too. So every fight is I'm very motivated to win every fight. So I think if you have those three factors, every fight is dangerous.
For sure. Speaking of danger, your last fight was a barn burner. How are you feeling physically? That was a tough one, and I know that Keith Conley said he wanted you to take a little bit of time off. How are you doing after that fight?
I'm good, man. I can't wait to be in the ring again. The first month, I definitely needed the rest to chill out, and it was definitely a tough fight, a fun fight, I should say. But I feel good now. I can't wait to be back in the ring.
So have you started sparring or going back to the gym just for like strength and conditioning or any type of anaerobics, or are you still on layoff?
No, I've been doing strength conditioning for a while. No sparring, just pad work twice a week. Sparring probably will come closer to the fight.
And is there anything announced for you that we don't know?
No, I mean now just probably something in the first quarter of next year, February, March.
Okay.
Maybe January.
Sounds good. Sounds good. You definitely have a high ranking in the IBF and in the WBC. So 2000 and 2021 can definitely be your years. I want to change your attention to obviously Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz. You were given that opportunity, or at least offered the opportunity to fight Anthony Joshua on short notice. Watching Andy do what he did, does it give you any inclination that he can do it again now that he has a full training camp?
We're going to see December 7th. I think he could do it. I think styles make fights. And I think Ruiz has a very tough style, I want to see how Joshua will adjust because I was shocked that he was actually running away from the smaller man, trying to move from the smaller man instead of, stepping into him. So I'm interested in seeing how Anthony Joshua's game plan will change.
Definitely. Now, you've seen some of his sparring partners. What's your thoughts on him bringing in Andrew Tabiti with TMT Promotions to kind of mimic Andy Ruiz?
It's interesting. I think it's maybe a little bit different styles where Tabiti tries to fight a little bit like Mayweather with the shell, right? With the Philly, with the shell, but maybe the speed is what they're looking for.
Now they brought in a guy by the name of Timothy Moulton, short, chubby. They put video out of him doing the right and left back hook of Andy Ruiz. Have you been able to see Timothy Moulton on social media? Do you know him personally? And what do you think of him as a sparring partner to mimic Andy Ruiz?
I haven't. I'm not really sure. I haven't really checked up on him. But it's sparring, so they definitely gonna look for some one or two similarities. But they actually reached out to me too, to go down to the UK. Yeah,
Damn,
I guess with the amount of punches we both.
Why you didn't take it?
I mean, I'm not going I might fight him next year, you know. So
Damn, but I mean, won't you want to get a feel for him? I get what you're saying. You're like, yo, why let him see what I can do firsthand if I might fight him next year? But at the same time, isn't that a way for you to see what he can do firsthand?
of course, but sparring is sparring, and right now, like I think I'm at a level where, unfortunately, it's all about me and getting me prepared for my fight, not help other people get prepared for their fight.
No,
So,
listen.
and also, like after I said, I just had a real tough fight with Ariola, so I wasn't really looking at the sparring sessions and like making like going there in half-ass shape.
Nah, definitely
What happened
understand.
lately in boxing, you know.
Definitely
But I mean,
understand.
if I was in like training mode, I had a fight coming up, I mean, I'd probably take up the offer 100%.
Now, would you feel the same way if you were invited? I mean, I think it's too late because you're such a top contender at this point. I don't think Wilder and his team invite you. But if they would you take that opportunity, or would you feel the same like you do in this situation?
Maybe. I mean, something I have to think about, like on the go, you know, and see how other things play into or lined up, you know.
Definitely.
I mean, yeah.
So, before we switch to Deontay Wilder and Dominic Brazil, Anthony Joshua came out and his quote. Let me just get this so I don't mess it up. His quote is, "We haven't done anything differently mentally. I am a champion. I walked into the gym 3 years later. I was an Olympic champion. I have one loss, but I'm not about to become a pussy overnight." What do you think of this new Joshua, right? Like, he's a lot more outspoken and even using vulgar language, something that I always wanted. I want my fighters to be gritty. You know, I don't need you to be cookie cutter with the suit. I'd rather you tell me how you feel. So I'm happy with all this new stuff, but what do you think about it?
We're gonna find out December 7th. You know, I mean, to tell you the truth, like he won the gold in London, right? All his title defenses, all his fights were in London. You come to New York, that proves if you're a champion or not, you know, or you travel outside. Where like the odds are like kind of stacked against you, and he took that test and he failed. So I guess he has another go at it. You're gonna see how the fight in Saudi Arabia plays out.
Definitely. Well, it's fight week, Deontay Wilder, and he's going to be fighting a rematch with Luis Ortiz. How interested are you in this fight, and does it feel like fight week for you?
I'm flying out actually Friday night to be in Vegas, so I'll definitely be there to watch the fight. I heard Ortiz had a really good camp, and he wants to win the title, so I'm eager to see the outcome of that fight, and should be a good fight. But
Now,
yeah, it does feel like fight week.
Oh, it does for you?
A little bit. Yeah, I mean, I have the kid, so now it's more everything's about him.
Okay.
But I Google everything a little bit here and there. I see what the social media, what's going on. So yeah, 100%.
All right. Well, you'll be in the building. That's a good look. Now he's going to be fighting Luis Ortiz. Like you said, you heard he had a good camp. Wilder himself and his very own strength and conditioning coach Joey Scott seem to think that what people believe is a good camp may be total deterioration of Luis Ortiz. They're saying that you can't train a heavyweight as a welterweight. What do you think of the methods that Coach Larry Wade has been using on the heavyweight Luis Ortiz in strength and conditioning?
Maybe try and play some mind games, you know? Have him think a little bit too much. Maybe we did overdo it, you know?
Now, as a heavyweight, do you run, like, do you do 5-6 miles? Because they got Luis Ortiz doing 5-6 miles on the mountain. I don't know. People are just saying that heavyweights don't do that type of workouts.
Yeah, I don't run that much, but definitely put in a couple miles a week. Just to. I think it's important to build up the leg strength, but I mostly do like little intervals of like steady pace of cardio.
Definitely.
But I switch it up. So I have like 3 or 4. I have like 3 or 4 stations, and just keep going through them for like 40, 50 minutes. Where it keeps my heart rate at a certain level.
So what would you give, what advice would you give to amateur boxers? We put on a few exhibition shows throughout the year, and what I noticed with some of the fighters that we sign up are that they get an energy dump. I like to say the anxiety gets to them, and then they look exhausted. So if you're not running to build up your stamina, is it just a matter of the fighter remaining calm in the ring in order to not gas out?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's more important than being in like crazy shape. I mean, you remember James Toney? I mean, he could have probably boxed 12, 15 rounds just getting off the couch. It's all about being calm in there, and that's key. Not being stressed out about the environment that you are in.
Now, what sort of a shot do you give?
Obviously,
I'm sorry.
yeah, when you're in shape, it's gonna be a lot easier, because you're much more crisp and stuff. But it's mostly about like like how calm you are.
Okay. What sort of shape are you expecting Luis Ortiz to be in? I know there's a lot of emphasis on Coach Larry Wade being brought in, and they've been showing so much on the 4-part series of him working out. But is it too late to teach an old dog new tricks?
We'll see. I think like Wilder has that X factor, right? He has that power. So if he hits you, it doesn't matter how good of a shape you are in, or how great the camp was. If he catches you good, he'll go, start throwing haymakers to try to get you out of there. So I think if Ortiz could do what he does best, which is like sit back and counter punch, and when he does catch Wilder coming in, he could probably take him out. So it'll definitely be an interesting fight.
Now, one of the main reasons for this fight is because Wilder feels Ortiz was saved by the bell in round 5, and B, Ortiz feels like the New York Commission gave him time after he was hurt in round 7. Do you feel like they gave the champion a little bit more time than you would have liked during a specific moment in the fight where the crowd believed he was injured?
I think it's a championship fight, and also like with all the injuries that have been happening in boxing, we gotta be a little bit extra careful with that, making sure everybody's healthy. I mean, with my fight with George Washington, like he had also like 30 seconds or 20 seconds to get up after the knockdown, the first knockdown. But you just gotta go in there and still finish your job, not blame anybody for it. At the end of it, you could have. I think he outshot himself like later on, So I mean, he's looking for excuses, but he did. I mean, that's what it is,
For sure. So
you
Adam,
gotta man up and do your job.
Adam, what do you feel more strongly about, rounds 1 through 6? Wilder gets the stoppage, or 7 through 12, because they're saying he got the stoppage in round 10 of the last fight.
Ortiz, is a very good boxer, and that's what Wilder isn't. Wilder is very, I feel like rugged in boxing. Like he's not a very good technician. He closes the distance very well and has a very powerful right hand. So if Ortiz is can defend against that good, it could be a long night, But if Wilder is able to land that punch early, it's going to end early. If he's able to land it later, it's going to be later. If he can't at all, he might lose, So it'll be definitely an interesting fight this Saturday.
My last one, and I want to just thank you for your time. I know it's early in the morning here on the East Coast. I want to ask, What are your thoughts when you hear Deontay Wilder said no one in the top 10 wants to give Ortiz a shot? That's why I'm fighting him twice. People say he's old. People say, that he's no one, but no one gives him a shot except me. Have you ever considered fighting Ortiz? What do you think of his statement? Is there truth to what Wilder is saying?
I mean, I wouldn't mind. I don't mind fighting anybody. Like, I don't think you have another guy in the top 10 that has fought the guys or the level of opposition that I fought before getting a title shot. You look at other guys who they fought to get a title shot. Maybe there's some truth to it, but I'm definitely not one of the guys. I will fight anybody, anytime, so it doesn't really matter. But is it true? I don't think so. I'm in the top 10, and I wouldn't mind fighting Ortiz.
And
so
will
it is what it is,
will Ortiz still be a fight for, if Wilder knocks him out, whatever, because that's what people are expecting, he gets him out of there in the first 6, is that still a name worth fighting now when his 2 losses come to Wilder, plus he's 40 years old? Is this Ortiz's last shot, or do you think that guys like yourself and others, heavyweights coming up, would still think about fighting him? Like maybe a Gerald Washington, maybe a Dillian White, even the Ajagbas or Dubois of the world, or is he too dangerous, too old, and you guys feel like I won't even get credit at this point? Wilder knocked him out twice.
Well, he's gonna be a great fight. He's a great fighter, and I think that will be good for boxing to make top names fight each other, which I think p-ssy is trying to do. They have a great talent pool in the heavyweight division, great talent pool in the welterweight division, and they're having the top guys fight each other. So it's definitely a top name. He's definitely a marketable guy. So definitely doesn't take anything away from him,
Well, Adam, man, thank you as always. I know you got your newborn. I know it's early. Thank you again. If you have any social media you want to give out for these fans crazy enough not to be following me, please let them know. And can't wait to see you out in Vegas, man.
Yeah, see you out there. Yeah, so it's AK Babyface at Twitter and Instagram.
Well, thank you so much. There you got it. Adam Kovnacki, top 10. Heavyweight with some great insight on both fights. And I liked that he said he would still fight Ortiz. Let's see how many other people think Ortiz is still worth a shot if he loses to Wilder again, because it's like Wilder said, they talk about his age, but no one jumps up to beat him. That would be a great win for Adam, but I seem to think, why would you fight Ortiz if you got the title shot looming? Unless there is no title shot, that's different. Now, if Andy Ruiz somehow pulls off the double upset, beats Anthony Joshua, we know there will be some sort of negotiations with he and Wilder. So then it makes sense for a guy like Adam to go ahead and, fight a dude like Luis Ortiz just to gain some clout. But, I mean, a Luis Ortiz fight, that's like a title fight. At least an interim fight, right? Being educated by going to the WBC convention this year and learning that the interim belt is actually the exact same WBC full champion belt. You get the same rulings. You have to defend it. And if the champion doesn't fight you, you get elevated without having to fight. So I guess if you can petition to get Luis Ortiz, Adam Kovnacki for some sort of interim, that would be a war. But we have to see what's going to be left from Luis after this fight. But we still have IBF, excuse me, Daryl Peoples will not be on the line. We're going to have IBO President Ed Levine on the line in about 5 minutes. And maybe Chris Colbert. I think he passed back out on me when he confirmed. Might have fell back to sleep. But if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button because it helps with the visibility of the show. It helps us grow, helps us continue to get these top 5 and 10 fighters on the show. More world champions, more trainers. I also reached out to Paulie Malignaggi. I'm wondering, did he change his number on me, bro? I haven't spoken to Paulie since March, so I'm a little nervous. Or maybe he's in the UK because of the gloves is off. You know, who knows? But Paulie's a great guy. Once I bump into him, getting new info will not be a problem. Plus, I really love his takes, man. I know not everyone does, but I feel like he's super honest. And I feel like he took over the gloves is off. They couldn't, they would try to keep him quiet, but they couldn't. He's a talker for sure. So yeah, man, remember, 1-425-569-5241. Press 1 one time. Voice your opinion right here on the Voice of the People hotline. We got about 3 minutes. Let's see how punctual Mr. Levine is. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and open up these phone lines, take a call and a half or two until we get a word
to
from
rate us 5 stars
Levine.
on iTunes.
These calls are brought to you by El Camino Electrical Services, experts in electric vehicle charging stations. For consultations and turnkey installation, visit us at elcaminoelectricalservices.com.
Bruh, I don't know. I didn't know what I got myself into getting an extra fucking bulldog. This little second one is a motherfucker. Stay eating something. You don't know how much equipment she done tore up. Just why I had to add the little fucking El Camino on, she done took a roll of toilet paper, paper towel and destroyed it. Every day. I'm telling you, I need an intern. I'm telling you. We're going out to Boomeranger, Troy in Baltimore. Talk to me.
No, just nothing. Just go ahead and place me on hold, man, because you got a call to take.
Well, he's not here
All
yet,
right?
sir. He's not here yet.
Yeah, but I'd rather not talk and then get cut off real quick when he comes on. So I'll just wait till the next time around.
You have yourself a jolly morning. Let's see. We're gonna go out to up early in the Diaz.
Mr. p-ssy, baby.
BoxingVoice.com.
I'm the finest. Canelo talking about he believe he can win. Go to my kitchen. Get the sharpest knife and cut the bullshit up. I don't care what you do good. I do every fucking thing great. Mr. p-ssy, baby.
It's over there. Hey, that was a good interview. I wish you would have hit us with the questions earlier. That was a great interview. It's crazy to hear that Abenaki didn't go to the training camp of Luis and Anthony Joshua.
I know.
But hey, he doesn't want people to know how he does things. I respect it, because after that fight with Areola, he was very, very, very disappointed himself. You know, he wants to prove himself. I respect that. And he's very knowledgeable. I like that too.
You breaking up, champ. You breaking up. We're going to come back to you. We're going out to Detroit.
Straight to the point for those with attention deficit. I'm so repetitive, so I gotta repeat. Stainless from the streets to the deep. I'm coming with that heat. All you need to know about me, I'm coming with that heat.
Stanless.
Right there.
Stanless, good morning.
Yeah, that's how all calls should start right there. Sorry, I got a little weed in my lungs. Ness, good morning, man. Thanks for another great show. Good interview with Kanaki. I'm going to have to go back because I came in like halfway through it. So for right now,
I'm going to hit you with what Troy didn't want. He didn't want to be interrupted with his call while we got our next interview, but I see the 305. Ed Levine, good morning in sunny Miami, man. How is Miami these days?
Hey, Nestor, this is a time of the year when you should come on down to Miami. South Beach is just perfect. The weather's perfect. There's not a huge crowd yet, and you'll just really enjoy it.
Yeah, you know, I plan on making the move, not to Miami, too rich for my blood, but I'm going to be somewhere in Central, I think. I need a little more space now that I have two English bulldogs.
Yeah, that's one thing we don't have a lot of is space.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of great weather.
So, good morning. How are you? And why are you still in Miami with so many big fights this weekend? No Vegas for you?
No, I'm trying to gear up, get ready for Saudi Arabia, which is just around the corner in about, I guess, less than 2 weeks. So, trying to keep myself at home and get ready for the long trip.
Definitely. Well, we were talking Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz this morning with Adam Kovnacki, top 10 heavyweight. Where is Adam, and how good do you know your own rankings? Where are some of these fighters? Can you, or do you need your own website?
No, I can find the heavyweights pretty quickly for you. I'm just guessing before I look at it, because now I'm looking at it. He is number 8.
Okay.
In our ratings.
You know, we did take a look at
20
him.
wins.
Go ahead.
Now, 20 wins, no losses, 15 knockouts, and more importantly, a statistic that we look at as very, very important, and the computer looks at as well, wins against quality opposition. You see a lot of heavyweights with undefeated records, but they've never met anybody of quality. Adam has fought some tough fights.
You know, it's funny you say that because that was something he said. He said not too many heavyweights have fought the level of opposition that he has fought before receiving a title shot. Now, we did look at these rankings the other day, and I was impressed because most of these people belong there. Now, we didn't understand Usyk and Luis Ortiz. I felt like not that they needed to be swapped, but that they're definitely ranked in the wrong position. So if you could just explain what are some of the key factors, because we see Lewis is at number 7 and then Usyk at number 1 without doing anything and looking very poor. And if you spoke of opposition, Chaz Weatherspoon isn't top-level opposition.
Yeah, well, I think, that's a great question, and there's no way of looking at the ratings that you could figure out the answer to it, but there is an answer. Very simply, fighters accumulate points, and that's simple. They accumulate points by quality of opposition they fight. So when a fighter like Usyk, who, if you look at his prior fights, which we can look at on our computer system, it shows you of the 17 fights that he had as a cruiserweight, 13 of those 17 fights were against high quality opposition. So he has such a huge, staggering amount of points. At cruiserweight, he was so far and ahead every other cruiserweight rated fighter because of the quality of opposition. So what the computer does is when you move up from one weight division to the next highest division, you lose a percentage of your points because of the weight difference. But even losing a large percentage of his points when moving up from cruiserweight to heavyweight, he still came out number 1 at heavyweight. That's what just the computer system. Now, from a subjective point of view, I might not agree with that, and I'm sure you probably don't either. But that's, a computer can't think. It only uses figures, and it uses, who did you beat? How tough was the person you beat? So that's the why he became number 1 in heavyweight. You can make an argument that he shouldn't be number 1, but that's the way our system works. It's not. There's no human input into it. It's computer thought.
So just refresh me. I know we spoke about this in the past. Is Usyk paying sanctioning fees to be ranked, or do you just rank everyone? Because we need to know what's the next step, because now that he's number 1, do you approach him and say, hey, do you want to fight Andy Ruiz? What's the next step? He got to number 1. Now what?
Yeah, well, we rank every fighter who fights. So even though we only publish the top 100, every fighter who fights goes into our system. So we don't approach someone like Usyk because, quite frankly, that's up to the promoters. And the promoters of Usyk will approach the sanctioning body that they wish and try to make a fight with one of the heavyweight world championships that makes the most sense monetarily and for his first fight at cruiserweight.
Well, first fight at heavyweight, right? And
Heavyweight.
This would be his second fight at heavyweight anyway. But okay, so you
Yeah.
you don't approach him. You wait for him to approach you. How long is he given before you move on to the next person?
We don't change ratings based upon their doing business with the IBO. That's totally different than the other sanctioning bodies. You can stay number
but
one.
I don't mean change it, Ed. I mean, okay, so Usyk doesn't want the opportunity. How long before you offer Tyson Fury or Dillian White, who's number 2 and 3, the opportunity?
Yes, but again, Joshua versus Ruiz comes to us from the promoter, not from the IBO to the promoter. In this case, of course, it's easy because Ruiz is our champion, and there's a rematch clause with Joshua. There's no way we would intercede with that and say, no, you have to fight Usyk because he's number one. That's just not the way that's just not IBO rules or regulations.
No, but that's obvious. If Anthony Joshua, who's number one, because you have a number one with an asterisk in Usyk, then you have a number one in Anthony Joshua. So if number one is fighting, wow, where's Ruiz on your rankings?
Ruiz is our champion, so he's not in the rankings.
Okay. So if Ruiz, if Joshua's fighting the champion, that eliminates your number one. Now Usyk, you said, doesn't want the shot. So once Anthony Joshua Ruiz winner emerges, that's my question. When does Tyson get a call to say, hey, you're ranked number 2. Do you want a shot at the champion? Or does he have to call you and say, I'm ranked number 2. Can you mandate me to fight the winner of Ruiz Joshua? Or do you guys not mandate?
We do not mandate under those circumstances. We can mandate fights, and we do mandate fights, but at that level, we don't have. It's a funny term. We don't have mandatories. In other words, we're not in a position that we must. Our rules don't state that we must create a mandatory when the commercial aspects of the sport dictate that we shouldn't do that. And this is a perfect example of that. I mean, as the 5th sanctioning body, if we were to come to, let's say, Top Rank and say, we're mandating that Tyson Fury fight the winner of Ruiz, Joshua next, it would have no import on their decision because they're going to make a monetary decision based upon what's best for that fight. And it would be like we'd be the tail of the dog, so to speak. They wouldn't honor that mandatory. The commercial value of the next fight is what's going to dictate who fights who. And that's the same, I think, with all the sanctioning bodies in terms of the heavyweight division. Almost all of them. There are still some mandatories. I believe the IBF has a mandatory for the winner of this fight. And it'll be up to the fighters, let's say Ruiz or Joshua, if they want to fight Pulev, who's the mandatory for the IBF. They may just walk away from it, and they just say, wait a second, why do I want to fight Pulev as a mandatory when I know there'd be a mega fight out there for me against, for example, Tyson Fury or Usyk? So that's what at times causes fighters, these marquee super fighters, to just relinquish their title rather than honor a mandatory. I believe it's better for the IBO's purposes to let the commercial aspects of the sport who do the fans want to see at that level? Well, they really
So
would like
how
to see
is-
Usyk fight one of them.
So how is the IBO any different from a franchise title or a super title with the WBA or a franchise title with the WBC that doesn't have mandatories, doesn't mandate, and just allows the champion to wear the belt and represent the sanctioning body?
Well, it's different because as what I can understand about a franchise champion, they can move all over. They can move from weight class to weight class, division to division, and not jeopardize their standing as the champion of that particular sanctioning body. That we would not permit that. You have a champion who, and the one you're referring to, of course, could be Canelo, for example. He could hold titles in 3 or 4 divisions concurrently. That's not something we would allow in any way. An example is our champion Chris Eubank Jr., who's been who, by the way, you'd enjoy interviewing if you can get him on. He is a personality. Our current super middleweight champion, Chris Eubank Jr., has announced that he is moving down from super middleweight, and in the future will compete at middleweight. So, assuming, and his next fight is for, I believe, some kind of interim title of some other sanctioning body, we will not permit him to hold multiple titles, even though he's a very marketable, saleable, and champion who's in demand from broadcasters. He can't he's not a franchise champion, as you would call it.
So
he will lose his super middleweight title.
So who's the champion in the middleweight division? Oh, Gennady.
Well, that's
Gennady.
Gennady. So, if maybe down the road he'll fight Gennady, that could be a mega fight for Eubank and Gennady. I think Eubank's the kind of fighter that once American fans get a chance to see him, and if he performs at the level that he's capable of, particularly going down from super middleweight to middleweight, he may become a big, big name in the U.S. No one's seen him fight here in the U.S.
So, just to educate myself and the listeners, there's no way that Eubank could have just said, listen, Ed, I'm moving down. Mandate me, since I'm the champion at 68, mandate that I get to fight the champion at 60 in Gennady?
No way. Our rules don't allow that, permit it, or in any way. There's nothing in our rules that would allow us to
So
do
he
that.
has to go back to 160 and be re-ranked.
Correct. Which he will be right after his next fight at middleweight. He'll be re-ranked. And now, let's assume he is ranked. He could be ranked as high as 1 or 2 at middleweight. We then would have the option, after he won a middleweight fight, to say to Golovkin, we're imposing a mandatory that you fight Chris Eubank Jr. At that point, Gennady, who now holds the IBO and IBF titles, could do 1 of 2 things. He could take the fight, the mandatory fight, or he could relinquish the IBO title and say, it's more important for me to fight this other fighter who is much more valuable to me commercially than the title, which all of the champions seem to be doing today.
Yes.
They weigh the value of the title against the value of the fight.
No, I hear you.
Which
I
is
mean,
logical.
I say you do that though, right? Because there would be a economical gain for the IBO if Gennady doesn't want to fight Eubank after he beats Korobov. We all know that Eubank is going to be facing and looking at Jamal Charlo. So somehow, if Gennady doesn't want to fight, Eubank can bring the vacant IBO to the table versus Jamal with the WBC regular, because there's a franchise champion in that division. And will you consider that a unification?
Possible. We consider it a unification, but the problem is, Nestor, that the four major sanctioning bodies, as they're called, have agreements between themselves where they will not, amongst themselves, call any fight involving the IBO and one of their titles. They will not designate that as a unification. Now, the press will, many of the press will, the fans will, because the sanctioning bodies can't make up rules that affect
Ed,
what
I gotta
isn't.
interrupt you because I need to know why are they playing like you can't sit with us with you? It's been a few years now.
Well,
right?
It's very simple. Yeah, you ask great questions, Nestor. That they're really great, and I'm happy to answer them. Because very simply, if you have something that's basically a quasi-monopoly on a business, why would you invite somebody else to join your monopoly on the business? That's a business decision on their part. We don't want another sanctioning body who's our competition and does this business differently than we do to join our, what I will call, a monopoly on the sport.
So how do you force
they just
this,
won't
though?
do that.
How do you force this? Because, I mean...
Is
there like
the
universal meetings where all sanctioning bodies must come together and have like a yearly conversation of how boxing is going? Because someone needs to bring up the fact that the WBA has way too many titles and is really ruining the sport. Like, it's just too many champions. They're causing too much issues. Like Gervonta Davis is about to fight in Atlanta for a regular title while Vasily is supposed to be the champion, but he vacated the WBC, now creating a super WBC. I mean, it's who polices you guys?
Well, it's really it's so interesting, these questions you're answering. The majority, the complaints I hear from promoters about this flooding of the market with all kinds of new titles. It seems like some of these sanctioning bodies specialize in naming new versions of world titles. They're very upset with it as well, but they can't say anything. They can't object to this because that's who they have to do business with. It's, when you're dealing with a set amount of organizations, that's where you're going to.
Who is policing?
There is no policing. There is no policing. The policing has to be done by fans, by broadcasters, by.
But I don't even think the broadcasters can do anything because Max Kellerman and I would say, Dan Rayfield, I would say Chris Mannix, they are they're brutally honest, and it gets us nowhere. It gets us absolutely nowhere. Brandon Figueroa is gearing up to defend a regular belt. Gervonta vacated a real belt to go fight in another division for a regular belt versus a vacant belt too. There's a champion there. I don't want to fight the champion. I want to fight for your vacant regular belt. Like, something needs to be done.
Well, it's interesting. Dan Raphael's a good example. Dan was one of the first journalists, and I respect Dan. He knows the sport, who many years ago said there's 4 sanctioning bodies, no more, because there's too many titles. There's now 4 world champions in each division. And if I have an academic discussion with Dan 10 years later, 15 years later, and I say, Dan, your initial theory was correct. You wanted to stop it right here. 4 is enough. 4 world champions, that's enough. Now, 10, 15, 20 years later, now there's 5, 6, 7 per sanctioning body, whoever the sanctioning body is, world champions per division. And yet your answer to me is, well, you only recognize 4, and that's why you won't recognize the IBO. And my response is, wait a second, we had 1 20 years ago, we still have 1. So why are you making the IBO the scapegoat for this flooding of the market with all kinds of world titles? You should be getting out there and stating that the sanctioning bodies that only have 1 world champion should be praised. And there are, the IBF still has 1 world champion. That should be praised. It's up to the fans, it's up to broadcasters such as yourself to keep on beating that drum that the proliferation, the flooding of the market with titles in the long run is not good for boxing.
Wow. I don't know.
I don't have the answers.
I see.
I don't have the answers, Nestor. I see the problem. You see the problem. Fans see the problem. We were mixed up 10 years ago when there was, instead of 4 champions per division, there became 8 or 10. But now when you have any individual sanctioning body can have 7 or 8 or 9 versions of world titles. It's not good for the sport, in my opinion.
So,
but it's not elite. At the same point, it's not what they're doing is not illegal. So they're entitled to do that.
So, how many years has the IBO been at it again?
Well, essentially, I became president 20 years ago.
Wow. And the company
So
was
it's
established
been a long
20 years ago as well? Because you said you became
president. It was
president.
established
So
in Florida in 19.
Okay.
Well, it was established in Florida. It was incorporated in Florida in 1997. It had been incorporated in Illinois, I think 6 or 7 in 1988. But it was basically not doing anything until 1990. I'd say 1998, 99. It didn't become an active sanctioning body until that time frame.
I did some research, and you've had 0 conventions, Ed. What's up with that?
No. I'll tell you. We have had conventions. We had a convention at the Doral in 2004. We had 2 conventions in Jupiter Beach. I realized quite early on that the conventions were of no import to the IBO for a lot of reasons. Conventions are good for the other sanctioning bodies. First of all, keep in mind that you can lobby for ratings at conventions. You can't lobby for ratings at IBO conventions. So getting promoters to
But I mean, you're
go
not
to a
mandating
convention,
either. So why would they?
No, we can mandate, and we do mandate.
But
We have mandated.
And doing actively is 2 different things. Well, 3 different things. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, it's a little
Yeah,
different.
you're right.
I
We don't
finally
do it-
got the opportunity to go to one, and I don't have a problem with someone lobbying. I got to see it firsthand, and that's how I cannot pronounce this guy's name. Sung Vinrunciao. That's how he got his opportunity, was because Samson Lewickovich knew how good he was and petitioned at a convention. Hey, let my guy get an opportunity. Look, he's been fighting. He's been doing this. And they finally gave him a shot because then, boom, that dude changed his life. I mean, according to the stories, he was eating rat before that fight, right? So, man, lobbying might help.
No, lobbying can be good. And under the framework of those systems, lobbying can be good, but lobbying can also be bad. Because lobbying, if you have, depending on your relationship with that particular sanctioning body and how much business you do with that sanctioning body, you may get preferences because of your relationship. And there's nothing against the law that prevents fighters from getting better ratings because of business tie-in.
Yeah, but this is the thing. This is the thing. With the convention, if you are there, it doesn't matter what relationship I have with Mauricio Suleiman if I'm a promoter, because when I petition, hypothetically, if I'm Egis Klimas saying, you know what, I don't want to fight Devin Haney, we're waiting for the Teofimo Comey winner. We're petitioning to become franchise champion. And Devin Haney doesn't want to be elevated, right? He doesn't want, because people can say they want to fight the champion, but then when you're offered the belt as full champion without having to fight, you're going to get the same pay grade. We don't know the decisions that fighters are making behind closed doors. But if he had a representative there that said, no, we don't want to be elevated. We want to fight the champion. We want the essence of boxing. We went up the rankings. They wouldn't be able to just give Vasyl Lomachenko that status, because the whole committee's board has to agree or disagree in front of everyone. Like, I actually like the lobbying, but you have to be there. Now, it's your job to follow the WBC to wherever country they're at and sit down and go through the registration. But that's what it's going to take to get a fair shake. If you're not there, it's like me. I'm a business owner. If you're not here, why would I give you preference? This is something to build not only my business that you are accordingly, paying sanctioning fees for and want your fighters to win titles for, but it's also building the sport. They should be at everyone's convention. Just like I never understood why you said they don't invite you. You should start just showing up. I don't get why nobody club or lanes these things.
Yeah, well, I think within the framework of the way they do business, they have to give the floor to promoters and managers at their conventions. But we have a different business model. Our business model is you get it by earning it, and you also will get your opportunities. If you're a great fighter and you beat good fighters, you will get your opportunity. You will move up in the ratings. And our system of tiered, if you win our international title, you get the right to fight for the Intercontinental title. If you fight for the Intercontinental title, you can become the mandatory to the world title. We have 2 of those going on right now, where we have a young champion who, undefeated, he's just broken into the top 100. His next fight will be for an Intercontinental fight, which will be a final eliminator. He wins that, he becomes the mandatory. There's a set road you can take where you don't have to. Your road is paved by accomplishments, and your road is a clear road. If you follow the steps, you're going to get a world title shot. It's different.
But that
we are different.
But that world champion.
Also, Nestor, we don't.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We don't aspire, Nestor, to be identical to the other 4 sanctioning bodies, because I'd rather retain our independence. We're different. If we become exactly the way the other 4 sanctioning bodies operate, we become the same. Now, whether you like what they do or don't like, whether you like some of the things they do and you don't like other things they do, we want to be totally unique in our operation. Does it work as well as theirs in some respects? No. Is it, in my opinion, is it much clearer? Is there more respect for the way we do it than the way they do it? In my opinion, yes. Have we reached the level of recognition they have? Certainly not. But are we respected? When's the last time you heard somebody say, "Oh, the IBO, they're crooked. They're you can't rely on them. They do things wrong. Everybody's they're in litigation for this. They're in litigation for that. This fighter they allowed to fight shouldn't be fighting because he's not entitled to." You don't hear that. All you hear is, "Oh, we don't recognize the IBO. They're not recognized."
Which is another word for irrelevant. That needs to be changed. You have to strive to change that. And the issue is this. You're right. You have great rankings, and that's why I say, like, you can take something from your competition. You don't have to strive to be like them. But there's always something to be learned in your competition. Like, you got great rankings, but it doesn't mean that the contender gets to fight the champion. You clearly stated if Gennady doesn't want to fight Eubank because he feels a Canelo fight looms or whatever the case may be, he's going to not fight Eubank. And that's only because he doesn't recognize or respect the belt as much as the IBF. He wouldn't do that with the IBF. He know he'll get stripped.
Well, he might do it with the IBF too, though, as they've shown. You know, when Gennady had to fight a particular fighter.
But he had 3 other belts at the time. You know that was a business move not to fight Derevchenko. That was a business move not to fight Derevchenko.
They all will give them up. They all will give them up if the commercial aspects of the sport dictate. If they're going to make $5 million instead of $500,000, they're going to give up the titles, with rare exceptions. We have
to do something so that they value the title. They have to be like Stephen Fulton.
That's our battle, Nestor.
Stephen Fulton is a representative of the IBO, a true representative. You know, Julian Williams, they represent and claim the IBO. You have to have people that are claiming it, giving it validity.
I agree with you. That's why we devote a lot of our time and effort, to promoting Stephen Fulton and also to Julian Williams, because they are they're pro IBO. They like the fact that they're proud to be an IBO champion. So you have to give them as much support as you can, and we do.
So
really
another thing that obviously the WBC does, that they're always creating rules, something that's always benefiting the sport in one way or another. Maybe some wouldn't agree with this new adapted WADA clenbuterol height and ratio, but they've done a lot of things. What's on the docket for 2020 for the IBO? Like, what is, I don't know, the mission statement for 2020?
Well, as far as anti-doping and drug control, this is like a catch-22 for boxing. Yes, better doping control, more control over making weight when you have second-day weigh-ins, 30-day weigh-ins. The problem is, do you do it just for champions? Do you do it for regional champions? Do you do it just for fighters that are ranked in the top 15? Do you understand the costs of doing it for fighters, particularly in lower weights, that have to enroll, and it's quite expensive? Do you think that weight control should be under the auspices of a sanctioning body, or should it be under the auspices of the New York State Athletic Commission, for example, or the Nevada State Athletic Commission?
But if those commissions aren't stepping up, if they're not stepping up and they're not being as extensive or thorough as the WBC, they're not checking in. They're not giving us 30-day weigh-ins. They're not making it public and giving that information out to the fight fans and the media. We want these fighters checked every day. 365 days they should be drug tested. And when they're in camp, we should know what they're weighing so that we know that they're not weight bullying. I think all that is important for me, but that wasn't where I was going. I don't want you to compete with them. I just want to know what's on the docket for you guys.
Well, on the docket for us is to continue to make the anti-doping regulations stronger and stronger and stronger. Just unequivocally, we recognize VADA, we recognize WADA, we recognize the Nevada State Athletic Commission, UCAD, which is controlled by the British Boxing Board of Control. We recognize the importance of it, and we encourage that this to continue to be strengthened. It cannot be changed overnight, because you're dealing with a world, not with a particular jurisdiction, and you're dealing with all levels of fighters. It's one thing to say every champion must enroll in this program or that program. But that's just champions. Where do you stop? Then you say every regional champion, or do you keep going? Every fighter who fights, and then you get into the monetary aspect of that, which is staggering. Quite frankly, there's no even from the wealthiest sanctioning body to the least wealthy sanctioning body, it's not possible monetarily for them to do what's required to make boxing 100% clean, as far as making sure every fighter is not violating doping controls or is abusing his weight losses or coming into the fight too heavy. It's a massive, massive problem that's being worked on for the past few years for the first time aggressively. So the start is there. It's a long process.
So VADA isn't mandated through the IBO, similar to...
No, the only one that has VADA mandating right now for fighters is, I believe, I'm not an expert on other sanctioning bodies, but I know the WBC mandates VADA enrollment for every fighter who is ranked in their top 15, and if they do not enroll in VADA, they will lose their rating.
So isn't that something...
I don't believe that...
Isn't that something the IBO should employ, because it will enforce less drug use in the sport?
It will probably... What we're intending to do is to mandate that prior to, as soon as a fight is sanctioned with a champion. You have to understand that some of our champions financially, because of the level of where they're fighting and who they're fighting, if you require that they enroll in VADA in some of these foreign countries, the cost of that in many cases can exceed almost, it's just beyond
the purse
financial ability to do so. It's just not possible.
I hear it. So isn't that your
in,
though? That's your in to the sanctioning world, I think, Ed. I mean, you can be the guy, and this is what I'm saying. You have to go to the conventions. Imagine if you went to the convention and this is what you were pitching, that be amongst the 5 sanctioning bodies, you guys endure the cost of 365. You would be under the radar. Everyone is going to be listening to this. They would have to allow you in or say, no, you're crazy. We can't pay for these fighters to be tested. Go away. Which would obviously put some sort of dark cloud over them, but it would be your in. I mean, financially it wouldn't be the best, but at least you would also make more money. But you need a way to get relevant in here. Like, you need a way to start enforcing.
I like your enthusiasm, and I like your aggressively pushing us in the right direction. And remember, I said right direction, not wrong direction. There are monetary constraints as to how much we can do and how much we can afford to do. And also the other side of that coin also is going to another sanctioning body's convention and getting up there and speaking would create business issues between the IBO and the others that might be insurmountable.
You're definitely going to ruffle feathers, but under the radar, who's going to be able to say no? And for how long could they say no? If you're the one lobbying 365, and mind you, I know that the finance, like, obviously you need to run the numbers, but that's the whole point of going over there and saying it, because the cost will be split by 5. They're the bigger monsters. You're not gonna, obviously, you're gonna try to make sure you don't have to pay that sort of a fee because you're a smaller sanctioning body. You're just trying to get your foot in the door, but you gotta get in there some way. And you know who you need? more than you need fighters, you need the fans. If the fans are in my chat saying the IBO is irrelevant, that's where you need to start. Because if the fans don't respect the belt that the fighter's using, the fighter isn't going to fight for your belt. He's going to be more, he'll be more willing to vacate. It's just the truth. Gennadi's going to think twice about vacating IBF over IBO.
The history has also shown, however, that all, these great fighters in the past that have held the IBO title have been more reluctant to vacate the IBO title than other titles, because the IBO has stood behind them and reinforced their position in situations that we felt it would be unfair for them to fight a particular fighter, whereas that same fighter might hold one or two other belts that are much more, I'm not going to use the word respected, but much more prominent than the IBO belt. So historically, it works both ways. We don't put them into positions to lose their title as frequently as other sanctioning bodies do.
See, I'm
so
of
that's
the mindset.
What has created loyalty.
I'm of the mindset, I love this sport so much that I've told my listeners throughout the years, obviously, there's no denying the WBC is the most prestigious amongst fighters and fans. So instead of having the Jose Suleiman and Muhammad Ali, I always said these sanctioning bodies need to get together, because we can't have a cold war amongst promoters and amongst sanctioning bodies. Like,
that's what you got now.
And that's the problem. So a perfect world is, WBC does the belt. IBO, you get that where Suleiman's face is, you get your belt, right? Your logo, your belt there. IBF gets theirs on the opposite side. WBA and WBO, and everyone plays fair on one belt. Split those sanctioning fees. Work together. Make a better sport. But to have it fragmented by the sanctioning bodies and the promoters, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. How do we get the fights we want? How do we get the fights we want if everyone
I don't disagree
is
with what you're saying, but I do disagree on how that can be accomplished.
Dang. Sad, I don't know.
It's almost like listening to someone who is pure and preaches the gospel and has good and his faith, and that the world can be changed, and that good can overcome evil. But that's not the real world, Nestor. I wish it was, but it's not.
Change has to come.
It's good intentions and good ideas, but in the real world, in my view, it's not going to happen.
But you need an alliance. I seen Paco and Gilberto at the WBC convention, and Darryl Peoples was there. You need an alliance. You just need one.
Notice the silence coming back, Nestor.
I'm telling you. Listen, everyone needs a helping hand.
We need an alliance in the world. We need an alliance between certain countries. It's so obvious that we need alliances, but not in my lifetime.
Oh, man. All right, Ed. Well, those are all my questions. Don't want to bore you any longer. Thank you, as always, for your time.
No, you never bore me. I enjoyed talking to you because your love of the sport jumps out. You never suggest anything that would be bad for the IBO. You recognize our the battle that we're in, and your enthusiasm is catching. So you never bore me. I enjoy talking to you. I'm sure that we will continue the good fight, and I'm sure that so will you.
Listen, I would honestly replace you with the WBA in a heartbeat. They are the main ones, in my opinion, ruining. There's too many titles. They've really fragmented the divisions, and I don't hear about any good they're doing. Now, they allegedly adapted the VADA program. I don't hear anything about that or any fighter getting tested. So I don't know. Obviously, maybe I need to educate myself more. But if he stopped ducking interviews, we'd find out some of him too. But Ed, thank you so much, as always. Can't wait for the next one.
My pleasure.
Oh.
My pleasure. Thanks, Nestor. Stay well. Speak
No
to you
problem.
soon.
Absolutely. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. IBO President Ed Levine. Listen, man, I don't know. Maybe I'm too optimistic. Maybe I'm ignorant. I just love this sport and want what's best for this sport. And maybe I'm too lazy to research what it is the WBA is doing because maybe I'm also too blinded by what I don't have to seek out to find out. 47 or whatever was the ridiculous number that the World Boxing News put out about the number of titles that the WBA has in 17 divisions is just too much. Something needs to be done. It's sad, even the question of who's policing them wasn't answered because there is no one policing them, he said. And that's crazy. That's crazy, man. That means the WBA is going to just continue to put out more titles. I don't get it. But we're going to go out to these phone lines. You know the number to call in, 1-425-569-5241. Press 1 one time. Voice your opinion right here. Voice of the People hotline. We're going to go back out to Stainless because we did cut you off. Champ, what it do?
Man, that was perfect, man. It was right came in too, so I ain't upset at all, man. That shit worked out. Man, I appreciate hearing that interview before I actually got it in, because man, you asked some great questions, man. It has some that belt, man. That was the best idea that I can think of, man. Like I ain't never even thought that far, but that's a great idea, man. Like, have you pitched that to all of them or anybody that you've been in contact with?
Man, I just say it here on the show, man. But I mean, look, it's like he said, not in his lifetime. Not in his now is he saying that? Is he saying that because he's pessimistic? Or is he saying that because he is reluctant to want to work with them? Or is he reluctant that they'll work with him? There was no clarity there. But look, I mean, I get it. It's like saying that all the boxing promoters are going to get on one broadcaster and play fair. It'll probably never happen. You know what I mean? But it is what's best for us.
I think it falls on us, the fans, man. You kept saying it, and I think you even said that to him, and I don't think he got it like that. Like, it falls on us. Like, we can't talk about what sanctioned body is bigger or better. Like, we need to start formulating to, having one cohesive, or monogamous belt, man, instead of having 15 different belts. Because, like you said, Brandon Figueroa is defending his regular championship. You know what I'm saying? And that's just one example of probably 40, 45 others right now. You got 47 belts from WBA. So,
I actually found the article. Where is it? I thought I just found. Oh, it says current. Well, this article was published November 19th. Current world champion, 65 title holders. 65 title holders. Ain't there only 17 divisions? Like, this is what I'm saying. It's just getting crazy out here, and we need to get a handle on it. And we can. We can, because our voice is loud. Our voice is loud. I'm telling you. And history shows that, like, history shows that. There's so much that we could have just bowed down to throughout history and conformed, and we didn't. And change came, 20 years ago, you ask somebody certain things that they're seeing now, they would have never thought it. So I'm just optimistic, man. Look, no one expected the emergence of PBC and Al Heyman. No one expected boxing to be on an app, and now it is. Like, we just got to give it time, but we need someone actively trying. The fact that he doesn't want to go to the conventions and pitch this when the floor is open, like that, it's something that I can pitch, right? Like, let's say together here on this show, we found the right people because, this show has blessed me to meet so many different people from so many different parts of the world with so many different titles, So the right listeners get together with the right business plan or pitch. We can go to the conventions ourselves and pitch this. We will be recorded saying this. Their answers will be recorded denying it. And like I told you, when I went to the WBC convention, there was a dude that was there multiple times asking for the same thing. And finally, Mauricio caved in. And I was just privy to hear him say, and that's the only reason I know, he was like, man, this is your third time pitching this. We're going to put a committee together and we're going to go ahead and do what it is that you want. So it might not happen the first time. And our first idea might not be the best one. But there is a way. But you have to be willing to seek it out and fight. You can't just sit back idle. And sitting back idle only tells me that you're comfortable with that money that you're making and you don't want to ruffle the feathers. Because you can definitely ruffle the feathers. You don't have to be, the dude that no one likes, but you can ruffle the feathers and you can get the point across. He can be our savior. Because again, if you get the fans on your side, you've won. You've won. So if you come in on that Vada, that 365, fighting that good fight, I think fans will get behind that. It'll take some time. It'll take some finances, but they'll get behind it. But back to these calls. Let's see who we got. We went to Stainless. We did do PBC, right? Yes, we did do Mr. PBC. So it's time for Boomerang CYP. Talk to me.
Yo, what up?
What up?
I got me and Leo 504 was talking yesterday, and we was going back and forth about being a great boxer versus being a skilled boxer. Now, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. I do track and field, everybody knows that. There are some dudes in question, like Michael Johnson, had terrible form, terrible running technique, but nobody could beat the man. He was a world record holder. He's a great sprinter, one of the greatest of all time. Deontay Wilder doesn't have the form that y'all like, doesn't have the skill that y'all like. He's 41-0. Nobody's beating him. He's going to go down as one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. To sit here and say this man is not a great boxer because of his technique, while he continues to beat the guys that you say do have great technique, makes no sense. If you are successful at the sport of boxing, that makes you a great boxer. Period. It doesn't matter how you fight. There's different styles to boxing, but the whole point is to be successful in boxing. Y'all keep crying about technique and this and this and this and this, while the dudes keep kicking your favorite fighter's ass. Sean Porter is a better fighter, is a better boxer than Amir Khan. Sorry to tell you. Amir Khan has better footwork, but the better boxer is Sean Porter. Sean Porter beat that ass 10 out of 10 times. Y'all need to cut this out because it shows your jealousy and your insecurity. If a man got your number, he got your number. He's better than you. Get over it. Get the fuck over it. And then that one white boy, Ness knows. I send Ness the DMs. Ness can verify that ain't no ducking going on by CYP. You can talk all that shit in the chat to try to get them on your side, but Ness will not get on here and say, oh yeah, CYP's ducking. He will never say that because I send him the DMs, buddy. I'll boomerang back.
Stunner, talk to me. Oh, Stunner, I'll be back. I got a mastermind. Apologies. NO and Nolia, talk to me.
Ooh, what's down, brother?
What up?
I'm up here in Salt Lake City, Utah, running through these mountains and shit. So I ain't gonna hold you up too long, man. That was a silent interview, bro. But I like the dude. I like his honesty. Like, he one of the most honest dudes I done heard in one of these sanctioning bodies who willing to do an interview. You know what I'm saying? But it sounds like, bro, he's just gonna sit back and keep doing it how he's doing it.
Yep.
Which his hands probably tied. His hands probably tied, man. So I'm not really gonna hold his feet to the fire. It's really the WBC and the WBA, but they're the ones that really can make a change to this shit, man. Like, dude, bro, you want him to throw a brick, you know what I'm saying? At a you know what I'm saying? At a fucking steel wall. Like, what that's gonna do? Like Sullivan and them, man, they don't want to make a change to this motherfucker. That's who we gotta hold feet to the fire, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but look,
I mean, it'll be cool if dude puts the envelope, but that's who really got the power, dog. They got think about it, they got the fans and they got the biggest boxers in the world.
Yeah.
Representing they go. Come on, man. Like they can get floored, like they get floored and man, you know what I'm saying? Crawford and Spence and all them motherfuckers. They get all them on board with it. Man, the fans gonna follow suit. And that's how they gonna make change, but everybody gotta do that shit together. And I don't see that shit happening like that. You asking for too much, man. You asking for all these different motherfuckers with different ideas and shit. They want this shit to go. To all come together.
Bruh, it's the same thing.
That's what the problem gonna come in at.
It's the same.
It's gonna be the head of this shit.
But it's the same thing I'm asking of the promoters. I'm asking Eddie to work with Al and work with Bob and Lou. Like, we can't ask the promoters to do what the sanctioning bodies can't. And the sanctioning bodies can't do what we asking the promoters not to. Like, we need to put our foot down, bro. We have the power. We really do. I've been doing this for so long now, and it ain't been that long, but almost 10 years, and I've seen change. We've sat here and said, damn, man, put boxing on YouTube. And now they stream fights on YouTube all the time. They do YouTube pay-per-views. You could buy pay-per-view on YouTube. They are listening. Our voice just needs to get louder. It just needs to get louder, but they can't turn us off. Bro, listen to what Bill Haney said. I don't know if he said it off air or on air, because me and him talked for like another hour after yesterday's interview, bro. But he said boxing lives on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? He understood that early. We, the Boxing Voice, had Devin Haney on YouTube at 13. We ain't stupid. 13. Bruh. They'll learn. Alexander Wilson with the super chat. Interesting that DAZN is broadcasting Wilder Ortiz 2 live in Spain and Germany. Maybe it's a sign of a future partnership with PBC and Heyman. But this isn't the first time that they were showing something in another country. They're a sports app. They need to get sports. And wherever, those rights are available, they should be buying it. No different than Sky Sports. They should be trying to show the UK the fights. We're going out to Edward in Alabama. Talk to me. Ed, you just listening. All right. Unless I'm over here, we got Troy in Baltimore.
How you doing, man?
What up, man?
Well, good interview. You got the gift for that, and you definitely got a gift for that. Most of what you said is a lot of what I've echoed to you on different times throughout different calls and all that. I'm glad to know you're listening.
Always.
And I agree with you to some extent, but this is the key here. It's good to say, let's get the people together. It's harder to do. I mean, because you have all these podcasters out here right now, and you heard me say this, right? I said, you got all these podcasters out there right now, and you all are the ones that actually bring the people, and you have a power over the people. But everybody's going at everybody else, and no one is trying to build anything. And I also told you that, you were the front of all that. And not the front of the negative stuff, but you were the front of the boxing podcasters right now, because they take from you. You don't take from them, right or wrong. You don't have to be humble now.
Honestly, I don't watch any other boxing podcasts. I don't have the time because I'm trying to do as many episodes.
I'm talking about the videos that you put out.
Well,
a lot of people use your videos. Yes or no? Yes. We're gonna move on from. Okay, go ahead, Nestor.
Nah, man. Actually, that's it. That's just your time. I hit you back with the boomerang. Looks like we got Antonio in Albany. Talk to me.
Hey man, what's going on real quick?
What up?
Yo, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I got in a couple of minutes ago. I don't know what you guys talk about. I know the title's about Joshua saying he's no pussy and all this nonsense, but at the end of the day, my opinion is I think he's gonna lose the rematch again, man, because maybe I'm fucked up with boxing history, but when have you ever seen a guy get knocked out and have a rematch and then win?
Lennox Lewis, when Rockman knocked him out. It took some time, but he came back and beat him. He didn't. I don't think he did it immediate though. I don't think he had like a couple fights, but he still came back and knocked him out. At least Abner Mars never fought Johnny Gonzalez after he got knocked out.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I feel like Joshua, man, is he went too fast into this fight, man. He's still gonna have that trauma from the first fight. He was embarrassed in the first fight. You seen it in the ring when he fell down a couple of times.
So you should be backing him. You should be backing him because he cold hearted. He like, yo, I'm going back into that fire.
Yeah, but I'm saying, I feel like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I feel like Ruiz has the number, man. I just feel like overall Ruiz is a better boxer than Anthony Joshua. Joshua might have more power, when it connects, but I feel like Ruiz has that better boxing technique, man, and I feel like he's gonna lose again, man. If not in a better fashion than the first fight. So, at the end of the day, I feel like the first fight,
We got Aaron in Cali.
What's up, Ness? Great interview. Your idea in theory is great, but what you're going to have to do, because this all comes down to money. Let's just be real about it. Between the networks, the promoters, the organizations, you got to break it down financially and see how it benefits all those organizations, everyone who has their hand in the pot. That's the only way this is going to get done. And obviously it benefits the sport, right? Because this is why boxing was so popular in the 50s and the 60s. Really, that conversations for hardcore fans is because you had one face, one name, one champion, and the belts have fragmented. If PBC comes out with the belt and they say Wilder's the heavyweight champion, they have a right to say he's a champion. And they're just as legitimate as the IBO or anybody else who said they have a champion. So, again, it's in theory, but financially, you got to break the numbers down when you go to these conventions and you talk to Sullivan and the heads of these organizations. And another reason why it's so good for boxing is because all these records are being broken, right? And so, like your boy Canelo, right? And they say he's a 3-time champion, hasn't been done since Willie Pep. Well, you got to understand something on the context. Willie Pep was undisputed. There was one champion at that time. So it wasn't like Canelo's undisputed. He has all the belts. He fought Kovalev and got one piece of the belt. He wasn't undisputed. So records are being broken, and only hardcore fans can recognize that stuff. And this is why we need to have one belt. I like it, but break it down financially, and we'll get somewhere.
Hey, listen, man, that's what I said. There's plenty of people that listen to this show. Someone out there, I know specifically of a listener in Ohio that's an accountant. So we just got to get together. Whatever information we need to present, we will be able to do that. I don't think that's the hard part. The hard part is after gathering all the information and putting it together professionally is getting to these conventions. I mean, this was the easiest one with Mexico. It's cheaper to travel to Mexico, right? I don't know if it's considered a third world country, but you're damn sure get a bang for your buck, right? I think they're going to Russia. You won't catch me in Russia. You know, so it's got to be strategic. A couple years ago, they were in Miami. So it just all depends, man. It all depends. We going out to Stone Bone Boxing.
What up? What up? What up? Hey, man, that was a great interview, but it was a little bit frustrating, man, to hear you trying to give him power from the fans. You know what I mean? And he wasn't taking it. He was trying to give him. I mean, like it was like trying to tell your little homie how to stop selling nickel bags and sell dime bags. You know what I mean? Like, it was just frustrating to hear you give him a great idea and he tell you that it's a great idea, but he has no interest in it. And then he almost slipped up and said that his title is not respected. Remember, he was like, "Oh, it's not as prominent." I ain't gonna say respected, but respected almost came out his mouth. So when you giving him the way to get some respect for your own title, when you would rather say, "I don't want to be like them," we're not asking you to be like them. We're asking you to be you. We're asking you to push your brand forward. We're asking you to promote the IBO. I thought the IBO had been around for like 10 years. We talking 20 years. So what was you doing for 10 years? He said they weren't doing nothing. So do you want to do nothing for another decade, or you want to put the IBO on a platform to where they can be the WBA or the IBF in the next 10 years? So it was just a little bit frustrating, man. I'm glad you kept pressing them. I'm glad you kept trying to throw him ideas. And it's just frustrating that they won't even think about dealing with the other sanctioning bodies. It's like you would rather hype up a C-level fighter as your champion than to force those other.
Cut it.
We got a super chat from Milo B. Hey Ness, I hear you smack talking to WBA again. Stop it. Emoji with the cool glasses. All right, we got a representative of the WBA in the building. I didn't ever hear anybody like bang the drum for them. I would love to learn more. I'm just not going to go seek out that information because, you know, what I see on TV is enough for me to be slightly turned off, right? Let's see. We got another super chat from Mastermind, Joseph in Plainview. Lennox fought Rockman back to back. There you go. The champ always has the facts. We got Brandon in Cincinnati. Talk to me.
Yo, Ness, what was cause I heard the caller ask who came back from a knockout to win the next fight. Who was that Paul Williams lost to? I think Thurman
Sergio Martinez. Paul Williams lost to Sergio Martinez.
No, not Sergio. I'm talking about Paul Williams lost like on some fluke shit and came back to knock the guy out. And I think Keith Thurman fought him at 154 later on in his career. Who did Keith Thurman fight at 154?
Oh, you talking about Carlos Quintana?
Carlos Quintana. That's another guy caller who came back from a knockout and came back to win the fight. Paul Williams got stopped by Carlos Quintana and then put his ass to sleep in the rematch. So that's another example where it can happen. But, man, I can't even argue with you these days, man. It's like 2 times this week I agree with you, man. You know, I've been trying to lobby for all of us to say, you know, that these promoters, these sanctioning bodies need to get their heads out of their ass and get their egos in check and work with one another. And that we, the fans, control the market because we the ones buying this shit. And when they tell us that, you know, this fight can't happen because it's on this side of the street, I'm tired of fans just being like, well, they said it's on the other side of the street, so it can't happen. No, man, we tell them motherfucker be in the middle and make it happen because that's what we want to see. But it's going to be hard for the fucking fans need to all come together as well because it's hard for us to come together when you got fans talking about I'm Mr. p-ssy and I'm Mr. Top Rank and I only support this shit and I only support that shit. So if the fucking fans ain't all together and saying make the best fights and ain't fucking clicking up with different promotional companies, how the fuck are we gonna come together to get these motherfuckers?
But I hear you, but that's the point, right? If the promoters are working together and the fans see that and the sanctioning bodies are working together and the fans see that, we don't have any reason to click up. We don't have any reason to click up because there isn't anything hindering. No one's not recognizing or only recognizing or dropping, you know what I mean? Believe me, if they merge that shit, there's less belts and less hoopla. All that shit gets talked about in closed doors. We don't got to hear about it because there's one belt with all their faces on it. But we got Stunner. Talk to me.
Alright. I'm gonna try my best to remain calm. Now, this is a shout out to the IBO president for showing up to the show. I want to clarify some things for you and Stonebone, right? What y'all have to realize and put two and two together with is this. The IBO as a sanctioning body essentially functions the exact same way in a sense that the PBC belt would work. Now, when you got what Stonebone was saying was why aren't the IBO willing to work with these organizations? Now, what you have to realize is that the WBC, WBO, IBF, WBA, all of these sanctioning bodies, I mean, not so much the IBF, but for the most part, none of these guys work for the full interest of the betterment of the sport. Okay? You have the IBO first off, just off the rankings. They use a computerized ranking system just to make the flat point system. And then based on that point system, they're humans. They look at this information and then they determine what is the best fight to make. As far as the mandatories, they're not going to forcefully say, hey, you must fight this man. They're gonna look at the landscape of boxing. Like, for instance, like they understand that if Gennady Glove, if he can go unify or something, yeah, they're not going to go force a mandatory on him. Otherwise, they're going to say, hey, this is the guy you need to fight. And if you're not going to fight him, we'll take the belt from you. Isn't that essentially what would happen if the PBC made their own belt? They had a ranking system. And then they say, yeah, this is who you're supposed to fight. There's no escaping that. The only difference between a PBC belt, like the idea of it, and the IBO is that as a sanctioning body,
PBC is going to have an uphill battle with this PBC belt you speak of, bro. There's too many other networks, too many other fighters, too many different countries. Is the PBC going to care about South Africa and Thailand and Philippines? Because those other sanctioning bodies are in all those regions, all those countries. They making sure everybody gets covered and everybody gets an opportunity. So what that does is that strengthens them. PBC's only going to have the fighters that you see on TV? Is that what you think is only needed to be relevant? Steve, talk to me. Chicago, Indiana area.
Interview, man. There was a lot in that interview, but I appreciate, you're speaking for the fans, and I agree with you.
60 seconds.
You believe in unification and not segregation. And these other guys out here, they're just opportunists, and you could tell you're a true fan and you want the sport to grow like I do, and that's why I support this channel. And there's not much more I gotta say. Just keep doing. Don't change. Whatever you don't change, you're going down the right path. And there's a lot of people out here that are supporting you. So just keep up the good work. And I know I appreciate it. All right. Peace.
Steve, man, thank you as always. Kind words. We got, damn, did we get to Joshua? No, talk to me.
You didn't get to me.
Pardon.
Hello, you get me?
10 seconds.
Okay. Great interview. Only thing that stuck out to me, he said the computer points and shit. I don't believe that. I don't think they're gonna rely on computer to make calculations and shit. I think it's something that they could still go in. I didn't agree with that comment. I think that was false. He sounded like a guy that knows a lot, but only willing to do what he know makes sense, because at the end of the day, the only integrity in boxing is the money. And all these sanctioning belts and all this shit is going to always work around the money unless the dynamic of boxing change. And it probably could start with fame. Not like you, though, because you change your narrative to different situations. Like Steve just gave you the call and the acknowledgement of being a great fan, want to change around the sport. But on other days with the PBC, if it's top ranking Terrence Crawford, it's some cross the street shit. And then with Canelo, you back everything Canelo do. So what Canelo doing and that cross street shit don't go hand in hand with being a fan of boxing. Because a fan of boxing is Canelo would have fought a Demetrius Andrade, a Jamal Charlo 5 years ago. We wouldn't have this cross the street shit that's being allowed by certain people like you to
Well, that's the point of all the sanctioning bodies working together. That's the point of unity instead of segregation. If WBO and all the other sanctioning bodies played fair, then we wouldn't have to say the Crawfords across the street. If the promoters played fair, see, sometimes we have to listen before we speak, because I was clear. We have a cold war with promoters. We have a cold war with sanctioning bodies. I am calling for both to stop and work together. So now if promoters work together, doesn't that mean Al and Bob work together? Doesn't that mean that Earl and Crawford can fight? And if sanctioning bodies work together, doesn't that mean that there will be no franchise champions? No elevations, right? And listen, what we can't lose, and we are, because of the franchise title and the super titles that were around longer than the WBC franchise title. See, the problem is you have an outcry for the WBC because you feel disappointed, because you looked up to the WBC. They were the most prestigious, so you didn't expect them to pull a fast one on us. You didn't expect them to pull the wool over our eyes and create their own version of a WBA super belt. So you're a little disappointed and hurt, you know? I get it. But can't take away the good that they do, you know? And, I mean, Steve used the perfect word, segregation, man. If we didn't fight for what we believed in, where would we be? So we can continue to fight. Believe that. We can continue to fight. We have Try Edward again in Alabama. What up, champ? No? Yes, so, maybe so. You unmuted over there. You there, champ? I hear you. I hear you breathing. You there? Maybe not. All right. So we're going to go to Boomerang CYP and the place to be.
Yeah, for one, Joseph Hope Garcia Rodriguez, he ain't got no fucking facts because that was Lennox Lewis' second KO loss. This is about champions who are great getting knocked out for the first time. Do they take immediate rematches? The answer is no. I've already studied this. I've already told y'all this, and y'all know damn well when I get to studying, I check all my information twice, 3 times before I even bring it to y'all. That's why y'all secretly love me. Y'all say y'all hate me, but bullshit. Because you know if I bring that shit, you know it's true. They do not take immediate rematches. You got fighters telling you, take some time, get yourself back together, get stronger, then come back and take them. But then you got fans and promoters. Promoters want the money. Fans just want great fights. AJ is making a mistake. It's okay that y'all want to see him fight again, and he could fight Ruiz again in the future. But he gonna take that loss, really, because fighters have told you he gonna take that loss. And even when you saw that gloves off with all 4 of them dudes, none of them could literally sit there and say they think he's gonna win. They all was stuttering. They all was trying to figure out, like, well, do I say that? If all of us say he's gonna lose, how bad is that gonna look for the network? It's like nobody believes this man's gonna win, not because he's a sorry boxer, not because he sucks. It's because Ruiz got his number and he can't figure out how to change that number in such a short span of time. The UK, as I say famously, y'all don't have it. Y'all can't figure that shit out and help that man beat the odds. Y'all don't have it. If he moved to LA, moved to America, got an American trainer, maybe it'll work. And I guarantee he don't win. Anybody want to take that bet? Take it. Anybody want to bet on White Boy John? Take it. All the bets are up there for y'all to grab, but y'all ain't calling in, putting y'all money on nothing. All y'all doing is typing like some little girls. That's what y'all do in the UK, like some little girls. Big Nick, sorry to make you mad. I like you, but your partners are some little girls. Tell them to call in and put their money on who they believe in and stop typing. CYP out. I'll catch y'all next time.
Robert Bonilla, Boomerang.
Yeah, that man bring the energy, don't he? CYP, he don't play. I like it. That's what we need. Yeah, man. I appreciate the interview, Ness. I mean, you was giving them the business with them hard questions, stuff that we need to know as fans, as fanatics, because we love it. But it's just too diluted, man. I mean, I miss the times back in the day when there was one belt and there was one champion. You know what I mean? And a lot of politics involved, of course. With the money grows, the politic grows. But man, no, man, I appreciate your interview, and I appreciate what you do, Ness, every day. As far as the fans go, guys, we got to step up too. We need to put ourselves out there, put our faces and put our faces and our names out there. That way, they know. They know this is one of the biggest podcasts. Um, we, Ness is bringing the truth to everybody out here. Sometimes I don't agree with what Ness got to do, but truth be told, we need to bring this shit back together. You know what I mean? But man, I love TBV. I'm TBV. I'm down with TBV every day, and I'll holler at you, Ness.
Robert, man, thanks for the kind words, and obviously thank you for continuing to listen. Who do we got up? Troy. Nope. Stainless on the boomerang.
Yo, I just gotta chime in with what Robert said and what everybody else said, man. I agree totally. That's you pushing this. Even Troy is right on that. You know what I'm saying? Other podcasters, they take from you. You don't take from them. So, and sometimes it's the title of the show, and sometimes it's what the conversation turns into. So even though the title of the show is Joshua talking about he ready, that's just him trying to respond to you and then Mike losing confidence in him. That's all that was, man. But I'm still on that other topic, man. That ideal is still in my head. I can't even envision that belt that you was talking about already. And I really think it's on us, the fans, to push for that. You know what I'm saying? So to the other podcasters listening, because I know they are, you know what I'm saying, push that shit. Because y'all the voice of us, especially you of new media, whether y'all speaking for us or through us or we speaking through y'all, man. Make that shit happen. And so I always say, please make sure you push the thumbs up. Share this in every episode of the Boxing Voice podcast, because it's TBV for life. And if you ain't on Patreon, that's because you stupid. Shout out to El Camino. Peace.
Stainless, man. Thanks for calling in. The issue is that we still have the negative Nancys out there that are like, oh, you're too optimistic. Oh, you're in a dream world. Oh, look at this moron. And it's like, how many people weren't shunned away for crazy ideas? We need to just continue to push. Troy with the boomerang.
Yes, sir. You know what? You said it starts with the people. Okay, thank you. You said it starts with the people, and from there, we go to sanction the bodies and the promoters, right?
Yeah.
I tell you what, I got to talk for you. It starts with you guys, the podcasters, who the people listen to. Like you have a big show. What you should do is reach out to some of these grassroots guys, not the guys that are like big and might be corporate, because they're in somebody's pocket at that point and they're not going to really want to shake anything up. What you do is you reach out to the grassroots guys that are organic, but they still have a following, and you build from there. You simply build from there and you go from there. Because let me tell you something. I've been in politics before. They only care about numbers. They don't care about human beings. You come with enough numbers, you'll get heard. Just that simple. All you need is numbers and a purpose, and you need a purpose, and you also have to have a voice, whether that's you or somebody else. But you have to have somebody that has a voice that can make themselves very plain. Okay, just that. It sounds difficult, but it's not, because I was a voice at one time when I was stronger, and things got done down here. So
I agree,
it starts with the people. There you go. So, hey, I guess you're going to have to become Moses, or you're going to have to find that Moses and get on and start your track.
Well, listen, I think I've already done that. I think I already put it out on the show today and to the universe that, people listen to this show from all different parts of the world that hold different titles. So, any like minds that, truly believe in that idea, You know where to contact me. I don't say Ness GTO on Instagram and Twitter every single day for nothing, and everyone knows that has reached out to me. I'm always available, man. I find the time. We're going out to Johnny. Actually, you said your name wasn't Johnny. It is the Agitator.
I appreciate you for that, Ness.
I forgot
Hello?
too. I had to see it to correlate it. But yes, what's up? Good morning.
I appreciate it, man. I wanted to apologize to you, or not much less apologize, but just correct myself. I didn't want to cause any confusion in between you and Bill Haney yesterday when I said you didn't introduce him well and all this and that. Man, you do a great job at what you do, and I understand why I perceived Bob Arum getting preferential treatment. You know, that's no. I don't need to talk about that though. But I just wanted to call in and tell you that Ness, man, we appreciate you out here, the boxing voice. Keep that shit going. Where Mike at? God damn it. And yeah, man, keep that shit up, Ness. Good shit.
Well, thank you, brother. Thank you for the kind words. And yeah, man, if you guys haven't already checked out yesterday evening spontaneous show, do so. We had Bob Arum, Bill Haney discussing the Vasil Lomachenko franchise title. It got very, very good. So a great episode to check out. I was going to get Suleiman on that one, man. He even hit me back like, yo, I went through some dead service, but it sounds like a show that I definitely wanted to be on. But it looks like we'll just schedule him for another time. I'm also working on, like I said, Jaime Munguia or some of his peoples. But they only given a short amount of time, and that's cool, man. That'll just open up the door, soften things up, and probably we get them back another time and more regularly. But definitely working on numerous people, man. Chris Colbert got busy on us, and we'll see what the IBO can do with Chris Eubank, right? Shout out to Adam Kovnacki. A lot of people seem like they didn't know we had Adam on the show earlier at 9:45 mark a.m. Eastern. Adam Kovnacki, top 5 heavyweight, was on the show giving his predictions to both Ruiz and Luis Ortiz versus Wilder. So don't forget that. Check that out. Share it on your social media. If you're just joining the live stream, you can hit that thumbs up now, future, present, past. It doesn't matter. It helps with the visibility of the show. And remember, this is your platform. The bigger we get, the easier the interviews, man. Like, I would love, look, how long has Spencer Fearon been telling us he's going to get Dillian White? You know what I'm saying? So we just need to get bigger. What did Baltimore say, Troy? You know, it starts with the people. We just need a purpose, but we need the numbers. We need the numbers. Without the numbers, they're not going to listen. So it's up to you to share the show. Joshua in the New Orleans, we don't always got to agree, but we can agree that this is the platform for the people, you know. Well, look, Bob is the promoter of Crawford, who you think I hate. So he was on the show. And he gave you, yesterday, you need to go back and listen, because he gave you Crawford's trajectory, and it isn't anyone on the PBC side, anyone at all. So, you know, everyone has a plan. Everyone has a plan, man. That being said, thank everyone for joining in. Again, share the show, share the show, share the show. That's how we're going to grow. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Help us grow. And catch us on the next one, man. You know we're coming back with multiple episodes. Today is Thursday, so it's Flagship Thursday at 7 p.m. Looks like we got a late caller to the show. See if he's connecting there. What's up, Jose in Canada? Talk to us.
Yo, Ness, you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Hey, good man. Yo, for all the hate I give you, Ness, on private chat rooms and, you know, all that shit, I got to give you credit, man. So yesterday I was watching the build-up on Fox, and lo and behold, who I see asking a question? My good old friend Nestor Gibbs, man. Good on you, brother. Hey, don't forget, though, man, what they say is true. That camera adds 10 pounds, bro, so you got to hit that treadmill, you know?
Nah, for sure.
No, I'm just fucking. I'm just hating. Hey, are you gonna be going to Vegas or not?
Nah, man, nah. Covering this one from the old studio.
Well, you know what? Just so that the people who are listening, because I'm truly an old head, man. I've been here since almost day one. Don't forget, man. Back in the day, we used to only hear you like twice a week. Sometimes not even, right? So you guys are spoiled now, man. We get this shit every single day and sometimes multiple times a day. So if you guys all want to keep this up, then make sure we take care of what we have to do, man. Like support on Patreon. Like these videos, share shit. You guys have friends who like boxing, man. Get them on this, and we got to grow this at the grassroots, like my man Troy was saying, right? But let us be it. We don't got to find somebody outside of the circle. We could do it ourselves, right? So do that, help out, and then we're gonna continue to grow, man. I would like to see Ness in Saudi Arabia. After all the hating we give him, maybe he'll throw some water back on Neil there, man. These are things we have to do as a team, man, to help out. So love him or hate him, he entertains us, and he's a good man. So keep it up, Ness. Peace.
All right, brother. Well, thank you for calling in. Jose in Canada, man. Truly appreciate everyone that calls in. It always puts a smile on my face to hear people calling from different countries, making TBV an international show. Remember, you can always drop us a 5-star review on iTunes, helping us remain the #1 boxing podcast in the world. I'm your host, Nestor Gibbs, Instagram and Twitter @NestGTO. Peace.